What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Hands-On channel, or welcome aboard if this is your first time coming and viewing any of my videos. Recently I did a couple of surveys on the YouTube community page, and I was kind of unaware of the community page until, I don't know, maybe 8 months ago, a year ago or so. So I didn't even know it existed. And then so recently I started kind of using it for multiple choice survey questions, just different things. Sometimes silly things, but most of the time pretty serious stuff. And I recently did one just to kind of get the vibe on what other people are thinking, and if they're thinking the same thing I'm kind of thinking. And we're just going to get right into this. I listed one, a survey, and it was just like four multiple choice answers there. It may have been 5 actually. Yeah, it was 5 multiple choice answers. Most likely shit hit the fan event that could happen in the next 6 months. And, of course, if you haven't done the survey yet, I highly advise you go check it out, go do it. And, if it totally changes after this video, then I'll make an update or we'll talk more about it. But I tend to agree with the overall impression and the overall survey that I did here. So the number one thing I listed was massive hyperinflation. Obviously they're printing the heck out of dollars and stuff like that. They just passed another $1 trillion infrastructure bill that was 2,700 pages long that no one has read. So that's a side topic. Maybe we'll make a video all about that, because it's probably full of pork and government, basically overreach and overspending and all kind of manner of other stuff that if you knew about what was in that 2,700 pages, you would be ringing your congressman's phone off the hook telling him to vote no. But that's the whole trick of it. They make rules so voluminous that you and I aren't meant to understand them, and we wouldn't even have time to react to them because, again, it's like 2,700 plus pages, just a little over. So the first thing I listed was massive hyperinflation because of, basically implied government overspending. 13% of the people that took the survey, they thought that was the thing. That was the most likely event. And I do agree. There's a big chance of massive hyperinflation happening. I mean, for example, our gas, just the other day, our gasoline hit $3 a gallon. And that's the first time that's happened in years. And I'm worried because, a lot of the stuff that I drive, the farm equipment that I use, and my big Suburban, the Great White Buffalo, I mean, it's thirsty. These big V8s that I drive around are thirsty beasts, but I need them to do the work that I need to do. So I'm already feeling that pinch in my pocketbook. And you add in the last time we went to the grocery store, was it last night? The night before last night, we went and bought maybe it was 1.25 pounds or something like that, a little over 1 pound of beef. And it was on average $9 or $10 a pound. And we were like, oh my God, this is insane. So now that is a local close grocery store to us, and we're kind of out in the suburbs there at our other place. So it's usually a little bit more expensive than it would be buying it in the city. But that was ridiculous. I've never seen that, at least not in my lifetime. Again, 13% of the people thought massive hyperinflation could be the thing the major SHTF event that's going to happen in the next 6 months. Okay, next up, cyber attack on the power grid / internet. So, it could be one, it could be both. I mean, they're kind of both tied together. So if one goes, essentially the other one's gone anyways. But think along those lines. We've heard lots of stuff about, Klaus Schwab, and they were running this exercise. I can't recall the name of the exercise now, but they were basically doing their version of a cyber event 201 on the power grid and the internet, because they know everything's integrated into the internet now. So if the internet goes down, probably the power grid's going to go down, and there's going to be many failures, and that could force a lot of people into starvation. So 16% of the people thought that was the thing. They thought, that's the most likely SHTF event that could happen in the next 6 months. I tend to agree with that. It's very likely. Our power grid is very vulnerable. There's some talk in this new infrastructure bill that they're going to be bolstering up the power grid. Let's put it this way. Government can't do anything right, so I'll believe it when I see it. Let's move on to the next one. Likely things that could happen in the next 6 months. FDA approval of the mRNA experimental, as of now, experimental V words, or Vs. I don't know how to put it really. and then forcing later on, after they get the FDA approval, you know, writing legislation or enacting executive orders that forces the populace, the remaining populace that hasn't taken it, which is a smaller and smaller number every day, it would force them to, you know, go ahead and be injected. So, do I think that's very likely? Yeah, unfortunately I do. I think the people that are in power right now, they don't really care about individual liberty as much as they care about collectivism and implementing socialism and basically breaking the capitalist system. So, and they're wanting to tear it down. They've openly said this in some of their groups. They talk about tearing down the system and all this stuff. I mean, that's straight out of Karl Marx or the Communist Manifesto or any of these other Marxist, communist, socialist ideologies. They want to destroy this system so that they can build back better a more socialist system that we would all be forced to be slaves to. I'm not down for that. And 17% of the people, they thought the FDA approval and then forcing the V would be a very likely scenario. Next up on the list here is ban and confiscate guns, or basically ignore the Second Amendment as written and as founded and apply modern interpretation to it and woke principles where, you know, they fabricate these things like, you know, gun violence. I mean, a gun is incapable of being violent. So that is a oxymoron. That is it's just retarded to even say anything like that. Guns aren't capable of being violent. Now, I get what they're saying, but it used to not be that way. I mean, just in my lifetime, I've seen the media change their vernacular and change the words and the verbiage that they use to describe all of these different things, and they always go towards the scariest sounding thing. And I'm sure they're probably doing study groups or whatever and having these little groups get together and they're asking them, oh, what sounds the scariest? Oh, it's gun violence? Well, as soon as they figure that out, then they echo that throughout the Mockingbird media. And if you don't know about what I'm talking about, go check out Project Mockingbird or Operation Mockingbird. Done by the CIA back in the 50s or 60s to basically infiltrate and take control of the message put out by the mainstream media. They've done that. They never relinquished control, by the way. It's implied that they did, like that operation ended, but that didn't happen. The government never seizes power or never relinquishes power back to the people. They only take power. So, ban and confiscate guns. Only 3% thought that was very likely. I disagree. I think when you combine all of these other things together, there definitely is a big chance that the federal government will try to make a move on the Second Amendment. I think that for one, Biden has already showed that, you know, he doesn't care about it. He thinks rights are not absolute and stuff like this, and that no ordinary American cares about their constitutional rights and blah blah blah. You know, sadly, taken the right way, I mean, he may be partially right. A lot of people don't even know what their rights are these days, but that's been done by intention of the socialist, communist, Marxist education system, you know, polluting our kids' minds with all this BS that, you know, is not real and running down everything that's good and real here in our country. So, only 3% thought gun confiscation was a big thing. Again, my mind immediately harkens back to, and maybe you're not old enough, maybe you don't remember this if you're younger people watching this, but, you know, back during the Hurricane Katrina, under George W. Bush, this is what's so mind-blowing about this. It was either FEMA or I don't know who it was, but they were disarming the people of Louisiana, disarming lawfully, you know, legally owned firearms owners. They were taking their firearms away when these people were trying to use these firearms to defend their homes and their houses and their properties and their homesteads and their families from intruders. And there was a lot of crazy stuff going on, and yet they came in and took guns away from law-abiding citizens. And I heard that a lot of people didn't get those guns back ever. And so has it happened before? Yes, it has. And it happened under a Republican president. So what do you think would happen if a similar emergency was declared say they had to declare martial law or something like that, and it was a real state of emergency, or maybe it was contrived, maybe it was, you know, made up about this new Delta variant or something like that, and they exaggerate the numbers like they've been shown to do in the past, except this time they go way over the top and they say, oh, no, the only thing we can do is declare martial law and lock everybody down and put military units on every street. I mean, do you think those guys are going to let you keep your firearms there in the house? Or are they going to come and disarm you? I mean, some people say that the government is setting the stage and trying to basically bait someone into doing a false flag attack, or someone to do something as a retaliation to all this government overreach, and then the government will exaggerate that and control the optics to make that person look like the most evil person in the world, and therefore the reason that no one should own firearms. So be very careful, guys. Traps are being laid all around us right now. So the last thing, just to get through this video here, is the collapse of everything, all of the above. Overwhelming majority, 52% of the people agree with me. All of this stuff is very likely to happen. And some of it, I believe, is now inevitable because of the overprinting, because of the weaknesses in our electric grid, and because of all these other things, you know, just the way the government is currently acting about our health liberty. You know, personally, I don't care if you got the shot. Hey, man, that's great. I'm glad you went out and got the shot and you did the right thing for you. But I hope you'll stand up for my liberty to choose not to take it. Because for one thing, you see where I am. I'm out here. I stay away from people as much as possible. And, you know, I did take precautions during the first wave, especially. You know, I went out and I was very careful. And many times I was holding my breath down the aisles because I didn't want to catch that China virus. You know, now, I mean, there's an argument to be made that it was way over exaggerated and they did it intentionally to disrupt an election and change the results of an election, and on and on and on. And all of those are very valid arguments. But based on some of the stuff I'm seeing and some of the stuff I've read from history, we have been taken over by people that have a desire for tearing the system down and rebuilding a socialist system in its place, at very least. Probably a full-blown communist system, but they're just not saying that. So real quick, one other survey I did, it was just kind of a yes or no or a two-answer question here, was when the government fear the people, there is liberty. When the people fear the government, there is tyranny. Do we have liberty or tyranny in 2021? Only 6% said liberty and 94% said tyranny. People that are awake, they know we're headed towards tyranny. We may already be in it. So guys, stock up now. You know, what can you do about this stuff? Well, I don't know what to tell you about hyperinflation. Stock up now. Buy stuff now at today's prices. That'll help you out. Cyber attack, you know, well, have your stuff together. Have some sort of way to make power and keep your bare minimum stuff going. Your well, your a few lights so that if you need to have lights at nighttime, your refrigerator, you know, or freezer, or both. You know, solar is probably one of the best ways you can go right now. It's gotten a lot cheaper. The batteries are still expensive, and there's a big learning curve. So you're going to have to get to studying real quick on building yourself a solar emergency solar backup system. But that would be a good idea because if the grid collapses, you know, then that way you can produce power without making noise. Generators are great for short term, but they make noise and they burn a lot of gas. So because they burn a lot of gas, I mean, if the grid's down, the gas pumps aren't going to work. So you're only going to have the fuel that you have in your shed to keep going, and your vehicles. I guess you could draw fuel out of that. So have a plan for all this stuff. Cyber attack, you know, again, on the grid or on the internet, you know, that could be a catastrophic deal. I don't know how integrated our nuclear power plants are into the grid. Hopefully they're all set up independent, but you know, what if? You know, knowing these dummies that run the government, I mean, they all could be tied in, and then, you know what, some Chinese hacker finally figures out how to get in there and makes the thing go into meltdown or whatever, or maybe the grid just going down, they can't keep the rods cool or whatever, and the thing starts going into meltdown, you know. So be aware of that. Do you have a nuclear power plant nearby you? You know, that'd be something to know about. And which way is the wind blowing? Because you don't want to end up being next door to a Chernobyl when it happens and not knowing how to act. So depending on your circumstances, you're going to have to change your plan and know your surroundings for sure. I think the forced vax is the big thing, man. I think that's a, you know, that could be a thing that triggers a lot of people to just go off the deep end. I mean, I don't really want to say much about it. I think you know what I'm talking about. And again, it could be combined with banning and confiscating guns. So guys, we have got a ton of really dangerous things that we face in 2021 and into 2022 if we make it that long. I hope you're prepping. I hope you're buying what you can now, because who knows, we may be headed toward the Weimar Republic where you'll have to take a wheelbarrow of money down to the grocery store to buy a couple loaves of bread and dinner for the night. You know, I mean, just be aware. This stuff's happening. Have a plan. If you can do it, get some land. Get out of the cities. I know it's late in the game for that, but don't give up. Find some place, even if you have to drive farther than you'd like. It'd be worth it. All right, guys, God bless you. I stand for liberty. I hope you do too. And until then, we'll see you next time.